Okay, a lot of people. Very good to see. Okay, well, mm, 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 mm.
Wait for a few more people to get in here.
Yes. Yeah, so as you guys can see, Christian and Zarar are not here today. So for today, I'm going to be Zarar, right? And well, Kyle will be Christian.
We're taking over here, so
Yeah,
awesome. Well,
that's
before we
what.
start off, guys, I do want to jump into some wins. It could be personal, it could be business. Not everyone go at once. Now we all have wins to share, but if y'all can go and start sharing those, that'd be fantastic.
You just feel free to unmute yourselves.
And don't be shy either. We all have wins here. I know we do. All right, well, I
No.
guess I'll go then. I love working out every day. I take care of myself. I had an amazing workout this morning. Got things dialed in so I can show up for my clients really well. So that's my win for the day.
Oh, it's really quiet. Maybe they've been permanently muted or something.
Hey, it's Nick here. I work with Kyle actually.
Hey, what's going on, Nick?
Hey, buddy. Sorry, I was eating pizza, so it was like video. So anyway,
Oh,
today, so we met with a vendor at 8 a.m. for kind of meeting with marketing, uh, other fulfillment options. We're also, upping our game on our LinkedIn. So we're
Come
learning to
on.
kind of lean towards becoming the expert in our space. So, posting with LinkedIn, kind of establishing a bit more of credibility just on profile. So kind of had like a
Love
mind
that.
shift lately of like kind of hit a road bump, as you know, Kyle. So we're like, you know what, we can just get through this. So that's good. Thanks to
I
Kyle,
love
by
the
the way.
mindset. No, the mindset is everything there. And you guys have been so proactive, so I love to hear that.
yeah. I imagine pizza also helps with LinkedIn.
Yeah.
We're talking about that. I actually just ordered some what's it called again? Was it deluxe
Deluxe or
pizza?
Supreme. We call it Supreme in
Yeah,
America.
yeah. Just ordered that, so in a couple of hours. Haven't had it in what, like 3 months? I thought maybe about time.
I need to stop eating
Anyway,
pizza.
okay,
Are we
yeah.
all
Well,
right?
obviously, this meeting is not going to be about pizza, right? This meeting is going to be, in short, how to help clients win, right? Account management. So I'm just going to share screen and just show you what we're going to be going over today. And feel free to ask like questions at any point, and we'll have like an open Q&A for any questions you want to ask outside of this topic too, towards the end. But yeah, it's pretty simple, right? And we're just keeping the subject kind of light because if me and Kyle were to go through this, this could easily be what, 50 pages plus. We don't
Yeah.
have time for all of that right now. But generally speaking, is the account management role, right? So you might be wondering like a little bit more about the account management if you're kind of unsure about or you haven't reached that process yet, especially for anyone else who's catching up on this from the replay vault as well, is the account management role is basically client success, right? Is once you brought on a client, right, then you're going to, and they've paid you, right? And let's say, for example, they are going to be working with your fulfillment partner, right? An outsourcing partner, say, for example, Cannes Marketing, right? Is Cannes will then have, say, a Slack channel that is separate from the launchman agency mastermind. And this is where all their clients are going to be handled. And essentially going to be a project manager sharing or a contractor specialist going to be sharing updates, design assets, and how their service is going. So let's say they've ordered Facebook ads. Okay, that Slack channel is going to be a communication of sharing like Facebook ads, creatives, and so on, making sure the client is okay with them before moving ahead, right? And then the account management is in short of they're basically in charge of making sure that the client is kept up to date, right, and knows what's happening. And if there are like any issues or feedback, then the account manager communicates that back to the team because when your fulfillment team is working on the designs, you don't want them to be spending all day speaking with clients, right? You would rather have them focus more on actually focusing on what they specialize in, right? Which is either whether it be Facebook ads or SEO design and so on, right? So that's the role of account management. It's basically to manage that account. And there are a couple of things in there. Like this list is not, I think, is it called exhaustive? It's not the end list, right? But based on like what me and Kyle had done and seen, right? And I've handled accounts over multiple other companies as well, like 7, 8 figures, is one of the most important things is how to set expectations, right? And as you can expect, I'm sure you know that handling expectations, like if it's not set properly, right, is down the line, you're going to encounter problems where people can be like, I thought this was meant to happen, when reality actually maybe not so, right? But let's go into a little bit more about how to set expectations, right? So that it makes it the life easier for the account manager to work through. Actually, no, I just realized I missed one step. So in terms of account management, is generally speaking, you can hire an account manager from the outsourcing partner you're working with. But to help you become the CEO, right? Because generally speaking, you need 2 pieces to have a successful digital marketing agency. You need a business with a good set of processes, which we're helping a lot of you build out for you. And you need to be a CEO who can actually manage and steer the business in the right direction, right? And obviously, taking a couple of sales calls helps you to better manage the sales team. And taking over a few accounts yourself will also help you to manage the account managers, because when they are stuck, and they will be stuck because they won't have all the answers, the person they're going to look towards to is you, because you're the CEO, right? Maybe some part of the maybe they don't know how to handle a specific situation because they don't have the power of a CEO, right? If you're a CEO, you can pause or make final decisions on certain clients, right? Maybe there's a short delay and you want to provide like a week or so extension based on that, right? Because the process isn't always going to be 100% smooth. There's going to be a few road bumps along the way, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of it also just comes down to expectations, which is going to make your life and the account manager's life a lot easier. So
Yeah.
going
Can I add
over
something
the
to that,
first
Chris?
one. Go ahead.
I was going to say also, like, if you guys are planning on outsourcing the account management or that sales, whatever it might be, like we're recommending getting your feet wet in the beginning. It builds that authority. It allows you to understand exactly what's going on. So when you do start outsourcing things, you have some confidence around that. And that's what we really want to set you guys up for success with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like with account management, a lot of it is just down to a lot of how you word things, right? Because communication itself is an art, just like communication on a sales call. It's a different kind of sale you're making. The closer or the setter, they're just concerned with making one sales. The account manager is constantly making sales on certain different things, whether it be with mindsets or expectations and those kind of things, right? But one of the first expectations is, generally speaking, you want to go over like a general overview of the process, right? So what could that look like? So for example, you might want to share a roadmap of this is what's going to happen within the first few weeks, and this is what we're going to do, right? And then you can then drop like hints of the rest of the process. So for example, let's say we have, let's go for Facebook ads. Okay. The first one would be, say, research, right? Everyone's pretty much familiar with this. And this is the same thing that your fulfillment team would have to do. Research on the client and competitors, right? And then it could be revise the offer, right? And then after revising the offer, it is revising the design and copy assets. And then after, and then it's sent to client for approval and revisions when needed. And setup, right? Technical setup. So let's do this. Technical setup for approval. I can't type today. To the client. So technical setup, right? And then launch ads, testing, right? So you might go over something like this, right? And if the client has a lot of questions about them, right? Then you can answer them. But bear in mind is at the beginning, you don't want clients to jump the gun, right? Because this isn't going to be the only call you have with them on the onboarding call. The most important thing in the onboarding call with clients is just to make sure they've got a general overview. Details are for later because there's a couple of other things that need to be established first, right? Such as setting healthy expectations, right? And that comes in with a lot of different pre-frames, right? One of them being is knowing that, or at least framing that the process is going to have bumps because the business is in marketing, right? And marketing, you're marketing to people, right? And there are going to be a few bumps along the way. That's just normal, right? Maybe Facebook is going to pause your ads for discrimination, even though there isn't any, right? Maybe they just randomly lock out your account. Maybe you've got a billing issue that resets your Facebook ads, right? For anyone who doesn't really understand Facebook ads, that's like resetting your relationship from ground zero, right? Imagine being in a relationship for like half a year and you just suddenly reset it because your bank says it seems like a fraudulent payment, right? That's not a fun process to go through, but as long as they understand like healthy expectations, then it's going to make your life a lot easier because a lot
Yeah.
of it just comes down to framing.
I'll say this as well with pre-frames. If you're anticipating certain problems in the process that are inevitable with business, when that a problem occurs, because you pre-frame that problem in the beginning, that client now confides in you. They trust you because you told them earlier on, hey, this might actually happen. And if it does, let me know. That builds that confidence and trust in your systems, and it saves your ass as well, if that makes sense.
Because you're just a messenger
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And the biggest role you have is just trying to keep communication as clear as possible, right? And with also setting healthy expectations is one thing you want to mention is that your team that you've got they're great at what they're doing, right? And they've got a solution for everything, right? Everyone else has been through this process before. You know that hiccup that I mentioned earlier? Everyone's been through it, right? It also just gives you time as well because like a pre-frame that I've had as well been using and I've seen a lot of other account managers use is setting expectations of communication, right? Is how often should that communication be, right? Because you don't want clients to be thinking that they're bothering you, right? You want them to be not afraid of just saying, hey, I'm having trouble with this. Can you help me? Right. And obviously there's going to be a limit to that, but it's all about setting healthy expectations. Like Kyle, can you share like one healthy expectation that can be
Yeah.
set?
I would say in the beginning process, when you're first building out your agency, it's really easy to get overwhelmed with finding your niche and getting married to your niche. You know, all my clients encounter this problem in the beginning where it's like, I don't know what route to go, I don't know what to choose, and so forth. And I tell my clients in the beginning, like, look, this is part of the process of creating it. And don't be so married to your offer. If you find yourself, you know, a month in, you're like, I don't know if it's going to work for me. Well, we anticipated that. It's okay. But end of the day, these are changes that you're going to be having to make in your business. You know what I mean? So that's one of the examples I use. Chris, do you have any
Yeah.
other examples?
Yeah. So for me as well, it's just saying that we've got a plan for all. There's nothing we haven't seen. And even if there is, we're not worried about it, right? Because our team is constantly um, developing that process, and we've got a team that's handled everything. And if not, then that's just insanely rare, right? There is like um almost just lost my train of thought there for a minute is uh Actually, I wouldn't even mention that there is nothing you or the team haven't seen, because even if there is, right, the team, the outsourcing partner you have, they will have the experts to figure it out, because they've most likely been working on bigger deals, right? And what I mean by that is most of the clients who come to you is all they want at the end of the day is reassurance, right? They don't want to know every single detail of everything, because they're not going to be able to understand it, right? All they want to know is that you can help them out, and that'll be enough in a nutshell. Otherwise, you're just going to stress them out, right? And you don't want a stressed out client. And one of the ways to handle that is to establish, like, did someone put in a chat? Yeah, they think they want all the details. They don't need all the details, right? If they wanted all the details, they would be asking, like, do I need an account management, right? They wouldn't need it because it would just take too long. And they've got other areas that they want to focus on in their business as well. Now, in terms of establishing clear lines of communication and support, right, is generally speaking, you say, make it clear of when someone can reach out to you, right? If you're away on certain days, let them know, right? And you also want to establish when you're away and you can't answer them during working hours, how can they reach out to you? When should they expect responses, right? And I would say normally say a good response time is 24 hours, right? And sometimes messages just slip through, right? Because sometimes we forget things too. So a good thing to have to establish good lines of communication is telling clients that, hey, if I don't respond to you within a day, can you ping me, right? And if I see that you haven't responded to one of my messages, right, that needs your attention, then I'm going to ping you within a day. Does that sound good? Right? And we help each other. And it doesn't take very long to do.
Yeah. I would also say boundaries, boundaries are sexy. They're really, really important. And, I think it's in the beginning when you're first starting off, it's really easy to not have any boundaries with your time. But if you're not clocking off in the nighttime and taking care of yourself, the next day that's going to turn over. You're not going to be able to show up as your best self. So having those clear boundaries of communication helps you out, helps the client out, and helps for like a more fluid transition, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I would say don't be tempted to keep, say, that Slack channel open 24/7, right? Because that's the fastest way to burn out. If you're looking at it throughout the day, that's just not going to help you. You're going to burn out so much faster. So set a strict time of when you're going to check it. Okay, that way is just going to help you so much. Now, before we move on to how to have good communication with clients, right, does anyone else have any questions about expectations? Or are we all good? I think we're all good. No one's typing or speaking. Okay, so let's go to the next thing. So how to have good communication with clients, okay? So good communication is about managing expectations, right? Is you want to have a process of how to communicate. So I've written text, voice, video, and call, right? The reason for this being is not every scenario needs a call. And if you have to be active, not reactive. Yes. Yes, that is very important. So the reason you don't want to have a call all the time is if you have call, you've got to turn up, right? And you can't be sloppy about it. Your clients have to feel that they've got your full attention. And that's a bit difficult if you're constantly on calls with them as well. And if you're uncomfortable with having video calls, just start getting used to it, right? Get a feel for it, because the more that they can see of your own presence, the more relaxed they're going to be, right? That's why me and Cal always keep our cameras on as well. But if you can't have the camera on, then It's no biggie, right? Every problem you have to help clients feel reassured, right, is none of the problems are big, right? Because none of the problems are going to cause your business to crash within one day, right? Because you're not helping them to build, I think the quote is Rome's not built in a day, right? And you're helping them to build a business that lasts. So it's not going to collapse in a day. But going back to text, voice, video, and call is the reason we've laid it out like that is in terms of how quickly and how much effort is needed. If a text doesn't work, use a voice. If the voice doesn't work, use a video and then jump onto a call. It's kind of like escalation of help, right? If you're, say, um, um, let's just say you're managing a country, right? And say someone's causing mischief on the borders, you're not instantly going to nuke it, right? You're going to send out maybe a local sheriff or someone just to scout it out, right? Don't need to escalate it that far all the time. But sometimes you might be wondering, when is the best time to do text? When is the best time to do voice, video, and call? Because not every response needs to have start with text, right? So one of the things is when you're thinking about what is the best way to answer clients' questions sometimes is simply doing a video, right? And sharing screen. Because what's going to help people the most is if they can see and hear what you're helping them with. So for example, if you're helping them with connecting or sharing Facebook ad account access, right? Sometimes a text might not be enough and a video walkthrough would be best, step by step. And then calls with clients. So when to have a call with client is a lot of this is going to rely on experience and human intuition, right? Is this would just come with experience. And generally speaking, if you have set expectations correctly, your clients will try to go through these methods of communication beforehand, before a call, right? And that's just going to make the response and the support level of support and how quickly a lot better that you can provide for them. And yeah, being human. So third one, being human is, how do I say this? Is it doesn't need to always be strictly business. It doesn't always need to be super formal, right? Because account management is they're there to help manage expectations, develop the trust, right? And just keep things calm, right? And one of the strongest leverages that you can have with a client as an account manager is your relationship with that client, right? Because it's very hard to be annoyed or angry at someone if you like them, right? It's a lot harder. Would everyone agree with that?
Chris, can I add something to that too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we're all business minded. That's why we're here today. But in the day, you're dealing with people. They're people. They have families. They have losses. They're going through hard times. And so having that relational aspect, obviously there should be boundaries there. But having a relational aspect, it allows you to give more feedback, right? When I chat with clients and I listen to them, that gains respect and allows me to actually ask better questions for them, unlock certain things. But if you don't have that human aspect, it's going to get in the way of a lot of issues that could be delegated if you have that relational connection with them.
Yeah. A good relationship just opens up the way for people to be more willing to listen and work with you.
Yeah.
Right. I think of the best business deals that you've had. Right.
Hey, hey, Chris, I have a question.
Sure.
My question is, would it be good, like when you're doing like onboarding documents, to kind of just maybe ask the client in the documents, what is your experience like technology wise, like to get an idea of like what they know and stuff like that? Because me, for instance, I have like a tech background, so a lot of things, like even like my landing page, I make myself. Like I'm able to do a lot of things myself because I have the experience. So wouldn't it be
Yeah.
good kind of in the onboarding to just ask them, hey, what is it that you know? So you kind of get an idea of how much handholding they need.
Yeah, yeah, you can like for example, as the account manager, you will normally have a good idea of what programs, right, or what pieces of software that that client needs to be familiar with, right? So for Facebook ads, ideally, if they understand how to go through a Facebook ad account, right? Or how to use Slack, that helps, right? If they don't, then you could spend a part of that call going through it with them. Like this is how you do access, or you could shoot them a video ahead of time. And this could be a generic video of just how to use Slack to how best communicate with us, right? I believe we have this in like module 0 as well, just how to communicate in Slack as well. So pre-shooting a video can help as well. You can ask like, hey,
Yeah.
would love for you, like before our call, would love for you to watch through this and just bring any questions you have in mind and we'll go over them on our call.
Yeah. Jordan, also what I do as well is ask clients simply like, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how familiar are you with Slack? And anything below a 6, if there's some issues, I'll literally spend 5, 10 minutes of my time walking them through the basics of utilizing Slack. And I'll let them know, like, dude, you're starting something new. You're over time, you're gonna understand the process, but enjoy it. You're gonna learn any questions you might have, just ask away. You know what I mean? Just using that human aspect is super important there.
Yeah, did that answer your
Awesome. Yeah,
question?
that answered my question. That makes sense because yeah, I do have experience working with people that have different like levels of knowledge in my job and business because I do have an IT client that I work with, but they pretty much do most of the work themselves. I don't have to even really do much except for like cash the
Yeah.
check pretty much at this point. They do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to read the room and just figure out what kind of client you're dealing with and then act appropriately from there, you know?
Yeah, because every
Ma-
client's different.
Hmm.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And expanding a bit more of the be human, right, is how do you be more human with the clients? And that can simply just don't be afraid to share like a small snippet about yourself, right? It could be like, hey, you're heading to a conference, right? Or you're heading out to meet with friends this weekend. Like, do they have any plans for the weekend as well, right? Where they're just going to relax, right? Because you can't always be working, right? You
Yeah.
can have that kind of banter. Wait, do Americans call it banter, or do you guys have a different word
Yeah,
for
we call it banter. Not that different, Chris.
it? Yeah, so don't be afraid to have a little banter. I know if you're new to it, it's a little bit difficult to ask, and you can just ask questions like starting off the call, like, "How's your week been?" Right? This is very different to a sales call where a lot of the questions that you can't really use on sales calls to connect, yeah, you can use on calls and as an account manager. Yeah, listen and find something to relate um, with them. So yeah,
Yeah.
and you don't need to spend more than like a couple of minutes, or if it lasts a little bit longer, no worries, right? Because every time that that your client is sharing a bit about themselves, it's because they trust you enough to share that. And that helps you to build a stronger relationship so that when you do hit a rocky spot, because they have that much of a bond with you, it's going to make them more open to listening to you and
Yeah,
resetting expectations.
yeah, I worked with a past client. It could be anything, guys, but we had a common bond. I love whiskey, I love cigars. And so we would chat about that every like for the first 5 minutes of our calls, just to break the ice, catch up with him and so forth. So find common threads or common ground with that client and play around with it on these calls, you know?
Yeah, and again, it just comes down to experience, but a good place to start is always like um at how things been. And sometimes in their onboarding form, it would be like, what do you want to accomplish with your business, right? Or you could even ask on the call, right? Once you've got business down, right, you're getting more clients, the marketing is fixed. Like, what would you like to do with that extra cash flow aside from reinvesting in your business?
Oh, Chris, I have another question.
Yep.
When you're booking a call, like say when you get when you get a client and you're booking a call and you have the sales call and you give them the contract and you have everything done. Do you send the onboarding document at the same time right after the contract is signed? Do you immediately send the onboarding document?
So the onboarding document should only be sent ideally after the client has signed the agreement and they've paid you.
Okay, once they paid and they signed the agreement, then you send the onboarding document, and then you will send the when
Yeah,
they fill it out, then you send it to the fulfillment team.
yeah, you send it to the
That's the
fulfillment
process.
team. Obviously, you'll need to pay the fulfillment team first before they start the
Yep.
process.
Yeah, pay the fulfillment team, and then when they fill the form out, immediately send them the form, the onboarding document.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Just want to
Yeah.
know the process. Okay.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, now going on to the next question. So this is just heading more into like QA. Is I believe Joanna asked earlier, I think it was yesterday, like how to answer questions you don't know the answer to, right? Without looking like a fool. So that's actually a lot easier than you think, right? So there's a couple of ways to answer that question. Is one, you can say, I don't know. All right. I don't know, but I'll speak with the team and get back to you, right? Because as account manager, you're not expected to know everything, right? Because you're not the fulfillment team. You're not expected to know all the ins and outs of the Facebook ad accounts or all the metrics. Obviously, having that helps, right? So you can give them the reassurance and support a lot sooner. But if you don't know, you can just say, I don't know, but I'll get back to you. Yeah, it can also help build trust. Now, another way is you can also ping the specialist inside that channel, right? Because sometimes the specialist is actually inside, the fulfillment specialist is inside that Slack channel, or sometimes they're not, and it'll be the project manager themselves, right? Because typically with account managers, how it normally works is you've got the contractors, right? The copywriters, the designers, the developers, and then you've got the project manager who manages them, right? And it's kind of like a quality control process. And then once that's all good, that gets sent to, say, an account manager whose focus is managing the client, right? And just doing their own final checks as well.
Yeah. And the confidence should come from that as well, knowing you have an entire team behind you that's experts. You know what I mean? And also, I would say this, when you're saying like, hey, I don't know, make sure it sounds confident. If you're like, I don't know, like that's gonna immediately lose trust. But if you're like, hey, actually, I don't know, but let me chat with the team real quick, I'll get back to you on that ASAP. Bang, right
Yes.
there. You know what I mean? How you deliver it is everything.
Yeah. And generally speaking, if I would say if you don't know, if you can put a voice message in, do that instead of text, right? Because voice messages obviously like when you're trying to reassure someone about something, especially if they are a bit stressed, generally speaking, you want to go with voice message because when you're stressed, you get emotional. And when you're emotional, it's so much easier to misread things, right? Because you're all in your own head. You wouldn't think to take as much time to consider what is that person really trying to say. So a voice note can help deliver the tone, right, that you want to convey when trying to reassure a client, right? And if you're wondering how to say that, then write it out and speak it out yourself first, right? Yeah.
One of the things that I've
So,
found, if you don't mind, one of the things that I
sure.
find is when you're asked a question by a client, and if you don't know the answer to that, just say, "Hey, that's a really good question. Let me take some time to think about it and get back to you." And so, just for everyone to know, Kyle knows this, but my background is in agency. I'm a project owner, certified Scrum Master, and I'm a product owner, certified Scrum Master, and also a project manager. So I've dealt with a lot of client-facing work.
Yeah.
Just be your authentic self with your clients, number one.
Mhm.
And if you feel like it's not a question that you want to respond to verbally, do it in writing. And then that way you can always go back to their response to do the additional research that you need. And sometimes some people are a little bit more are able to explain themselves better in writing, and some people are better at explaining themselves verbally. So you gotta have to figure that out with your clients and manage that with your clients.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you're managing, if you've got like more, when you're managing clients, right, you can just ask. I think we have a channel for that called client management inside the Slack channel. No, it's called client fulfillment, right? You could ask questions inside there as well. Let's see. I've clicked off Zoom. Give me a moment. There it is. Okay, yeah. Thanks, James. So let's see. One other thing I was going to mention is questions you don't know. Oh, let's say you're unsure about your answer. You think you know the answer, but you're unsure, right? In that case, best thing to do then is to ask in the client fulfillment channel inside Slack, right? And or ask your project manager to clarify it, right? Because sometimes you'll get information that you don't understand. And a good rule of thumb is whenever you receive something from your fulfillment team that you don't understand, right? Ask your project managers to simplify it or the specialist to simplify it, right? Because when you're trying to explain something to a client, if you can't explain it, right, and they ask questions about it, you don't constantly want to say, I don't know, right? You want to be able to provide them some answer. So having the project managers kind of simplify things for you makes helps out a lot, because as an account manager is you're not only managing communication with clients, but you're helping to manage communication on the back end, because having a good project manager who communicates well with you and you have a good communication with them helps so much. Because as soon as there's kind of delay or miscommunication on the project management side, and you don't know what's going on, right? Or you don't know how to communicate that with the client, you're going to have a rough time, right? And it will happen. This happens for every business, no matter what you're in, right? So communication is key, and just also just building that relationship with the project managers as well, right? Just really helps in terms of communication and setting expectations as well with them. So we have, yeah, if you ever get stuck with the client management stuff, then just asking the client fulfillment channel, because there's just so many scenarios that we don't have time to cover. But does this make sense for everyone so far, or do you guys have any questions you want to ask in regards to client fulfillment?
I have a I have a question dealing with clients. Like once a client comes in and they sign up with you, what in general is like a good baseline for like having meetings and showing them reports, like a point where you're not obnoxious, but where you're continually updating them, like once a week or once every 2 weeks, or like to meet with them to like go over changes so you're touching base with them? What's like a good starting point where you're not gonna kind of come off as annoying, you're contacting them too much, and like an amount of how much you
Yeah,
touch base with
so
the client?
generally speaking, again, go over this on your onboarding call with the client, right? It also just depends on the scope of the project as well and what needs done. But generally speaking, you can say like, hey, I'm going to be touching base with you in a couple of days, right? That's if you've got a set of tasks for the client that they need to fulfill. Maybe it's providing you access to a part of their marketing or their Facebook ad account, right? Or providing assets or sharing testimonials or whatever task that you ask of the business owner. You can ask like, is it okay if I catch up, if I ask you every couple of days, just see how you're doing, right? And
Okay.
people just normally say yeah, right? They
Okay.
want that communication. Actually, one thing you will find is one of the most, I'd say, common, um, what's it called? Most of the most common complaints, right, in terms of working with like marketers and so on, right, and fulfillment teams, is that leaves a lot of people frustrated, is a lack of communication. It's not so much the
Gotcha.
quality
Okay.
of communication, it's a lack of communication. Your clients will be relieved to have someone who's willing to update and check in with them every couple of days.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. James, I think you said you got some experience. I think you can attest to this, right? Just
Yeah,
having
so
communication.
yeah, having communication is key. And sometimes you need to outline that in your SLA. And for those who don't know, an SLA is a service level agreement, where you sit there and say that you will outline saying we will have a touch point at least once or twice a week. And then
Mhm.
in my experience, it's always good to set those meetings up at the very beginning, put them on the calendar so that you know what your cadence is. And then if you need to shuffle, you can shuffle.
Mhm.
In my last role, we met with the client at least twice a week. The first
Mhm.
touch point was to go over maintenance requests and to kind of let them know what what on the website was launched or sort of discuss what was going on with the website. And then the second was a fuller meeting that had more departments involved, like strategy was involved, development was involved, analytics was involved. And we just met with the client to just kind of give them a high level update and to talk about the things that we needed to kind of get through for the next week. So it's always it's always a good idea to just outline that in your SLA that you're going to have a meeting at least once a week, possibly more, stick to that, and then just set it up at the very beginning and just and don't like set it and forget it, but always make sure you're
Okay.
prepared. And also always make sure that you put an agenda in your meeting.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. So one thing also about setting up calls, right? And this is a very easy thing to miss is when you're on call, right? Try to set up that call on that call, right? So if you had your onboarding call, set up the second call in that onboarding call. And then as you go along, do the same again. Confirm with the time, have them check with the calendar. And once that's been confirmed, right, you always want to make sure that, hey, did this person receive the correct time? Because again, we're all human, mistakes can happen. You might have actually booked the wrong time, right? Or maybe the client misread the time, right? So you want to protect yourself in that case. So that's why it's always important to have them check, right? And if they said yes, and then they turn around and say, "Oh, I thought we're having this time," you can basically save your ass and say, "Hey, this is the time we agreed to," right? Like we wrote here, you acknowledge it as well, so it's not on you, right? Just asking them to check their email, just confirm, and if they don't confirm, right, ask them every day. Don't stop until you're asking, because like you need to obviously be able to protect yourself in this. Um, and there was also one thing about the time as well. I'm
Can
trying
I
to
add
remember
something to
what
that
it
as well,
was.
Chris, real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think also making sure the client understands what you require from them is super important. Like, hey, if you're going through something, if you need something, like communicate with me. Let me know. If I don't hear from you for like a week or so, I'm gonna reach out to you and I want to hear from you. Like setting those healthy expectations for the client as well, it'll save you a lot of time and headaches.
Yeah. Okay, so we've been going on for a while on this topic. Is any more questions about this? If not, we can just do a general QA, right? Any questions? Anyone's got any part of about the digital marketing agency that they need help on?
Hey, Chris, it's Jennifer.
Mm.
Hello, Jennifer.
So I guess I am starting to feel really uneasy because I'm starting to look through trying to find a marketing partner. And Kyle and I've talked about this. I'm trying to use Christian actually referred me a couple of people, and I'm losing faith in their ability to do their jobs because they've sort of all dropped the ball on me. Just in messaging, he gave me
Okay.
four referrals, and I responded to each, and like we either didn't move forward or they didn't get my email, or one actually said she responded to my email, but I don't have a reply. But no appointments have been set all week. I've been working like all week trying to get appointments for this week or next week, and like they've all sort of fizzled. And I'm like, so how do I have confidence or like, do I continue to chase them, or how do I have confidence in them to know that they're going to be able to do the work when I have a client that has a deadline?
Yeah, so the question, so I kind of sense like two questions. How can you have
Yeah.
confidence in them when they're not, well, communicating with you, right? And the other one is like, well, if you can't gain that confidence, well, what then, right? So, let's go for the second one first. Actually, no, let's go for the first one. So, yeah, I know it's hard to gain confidence when they aren't communicating with you well, right? And I'm not sure, like, how many, give us an example of like, how often have you followed with one of them, or how many times you've followed with them?
Well, in all the cases, I'm the last person to have replied.
Okay.
So nobody has, either they haven't picked up the ball to say,
Okay.
okay, let's book a call. Here are my rates. Here are my prices.
How long have you
And
been
so,
following them up for?
well, the introductions didn't happen till Saturday. So, but my last responses from most people were Tuesday. So I sent out a reply to everybody today saying, are we, can you
So you
provide your
started on,
rates, or can we move forward? Yeah.
so you started communication on Saturday, correct?
Yeah, as soon as he created the opening to put us together,
Okay.
I immediately said something back, and then we waited for their reply. So they all replied either by Saturday or Monday.
Yeah, so yeah. One thing I'd say is probably give it, generally speaking, I personally I would give it say 2 weeks max. Generally, the reasoning for that being is sometimes some people can have a rough week for whatever reason, right?
Sure.
So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And then if they don't respond, like say at the end of the second week, then I would normally stop following, simply because whatever's happening is probably not going
Gonna
to be
affect you.
resolved anytime.
Yeah.
Right? It's best to focus on elsewhere. It's actually kind of a similar approach to dating, right? If someone's had give them a week. If it's 2 weeks, then yeah, leave it be. So yeah. Now, in terms of who else to find, right? If the communication just isn't there with those other service providers, it's just a simple case of finding others, whether it's through Google or elsewhere. And if you're unsure about them, right? Or you want to ask for our opinion, like, do we know about this fulfillment partner, right? Then you could shoot us, and we can, if we know them, we can share them. But if not, try to schedule a call with them. But it's just a case of just finding a different fulfillment partner.
That's where I'm struggling. So
Yeah, it's just, yeah, it happens. It's just a case of finding them. And obviously if you found one, find another, right? Just like when you're interviewing for any position, you don't want to just interview one of them.
right.
You want to have another one just in case. Yeah, did that answer your question?
I think so. So
Yeah, if you do get stuck, right, you've got Kyle helping you out, so you're in safe hands. Okay, no
So
worries.
I have one related question on that.
Go ahead.
So the fulfilling partners, are they based in US, or do you recommend some in UK as well?
Okay, so I would say it doesn't really matter where they're based, right? Because if you think about it, you're in the digital marketing world, right? And that basically allows you to recruit talent from all across the world. And if someone's better at something else, right, at Facebook ads, you don't really care where they come from, right? You should know, can they do their job? And will they be easy to work with? That's what really matters.
Right. Okay.
So,
Thanks.
yeah, no worries. Any other question? No? Or is everyone still think?
I didn't want to ask
Who
a
says?
question because I already did earlier. It's Joanna.
Go ahead,
I
Joanna.
can't show my face. I'm at school.
No worries, we know what you look
I do want
like.
I want to make a point that it does help a lot when it comes to providing visuals for people. I am a visual learner, especially with learning certain things. Like I asked for a video about the background of Go High Level and stuff like that. It really does help for specific clients. So.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Anyone got any other questions, or are you still thinking about pizza from earlier? Jennifer, I think you.
I have another quick question. So one of them actually just
Sure.
responded with what her services are, and she offers media buying. Can you explain what media buying is?
Yeah, so media buying it basically means ads.
Okay.
Right? Media buying is simply the service there is offering like, I'll manage your ads for you, right? That doesn't mean that they won't design the graphics. They won't write your
No
copy.
creative.
Yeah,
Okay, no
they
creative or copy.
won't. Yeah, all they're doing is they can help you with the technical setup of an ad account, and they will manage the ads and put in the targeting and manage that. Right? Some media buyers can do more, but if we're just going with the definitive roles of a media buyer, it is simply managing your ad account.
Okay.
Right? And trying to use the assets that you've given them to target your ideal audience.
Awesome. Thank you. I kept hearing the term, but I didn't quite relate it to how I related to that. So I would be in that pool as long as if I'm offering that. So perfect.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Yeah. Any other questions, or are we all good for today? Actually, I'm thinking. No? Are we all good? I think that's everyone then. No other question? Oh, okay. Well, this recording is going to be up in about 24 hours in the Vault library afterwards. And if you've got any other questions, right, then obviously reach out to your accountability coach. If you've got like any questions about client fulfillment or account management, right, then feel free to ping like me or Christian or Kyle in the client fulfillment channel. Okay. Wow, everyone's very silent. Oh.
Thank you.
Hey, see you guys.
No worries. Well, hope everyone has a great day, and we'll speak
Thank
soon.
you.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.